Well, good evening, everyone. You're a host for this evening's Toastmasters, Golden Speakers. And we have a guest tonight, Lillian. Can you share why you're here and a little bit about it? Yourself, I mean?
Well, I'm a Toastmaster for 3 years. I walked into a meeting not knowing what Toastmasters were and joined. I've since then joined one other club. I visit 2 local clubs on Zoom. And I just wanted to see how the rest of the states do. So I
Very good.
figured I'd send out a message and I hopped on for the night.
All right. Well, we sure appreciate you coming here. We always like some guests, and of course, we're always gunning for a new member of this where we're at too. So we'll see what we can do for you.
Okay.
Well, as president, I'm going to officially open up this meeting. Dan, I got a block of wood. There it is. That's
All right.
That's open. All right. Our mission here of Golden Speakers is to create a positive and supportive learning environment in which each member has the opportunity to develop verbal, communication, and leadership skills, which foster self-confidence and personal growth. Now, this evening, yes, everyone, I have a computer that's down, so bear with me while I switch over and switch hats to as I read the rules here. Okay. Now, this evening, I am the Toastmaster. That's what I was saying. I switched hats. And it is my responsibility to introduce the role players for this evening. First of all, we're going to start off with our timer, Mr. Dan Craig. Dan, can you share?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. My role as timer is to keep track of all the speaking that occurs. When we have our speech tonight, which is 5 to 7 minutes, I'm going to give a green card at 5 minutes, a yellow card at 6, a red card at 7, and then our speaker will have, 30 seconds to wrap up. Table topics are 1 to 2 minute speeches. That's a green at 1, a yellow at minute 30, a red at 2, and again, 30 seconds to finish. Evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes, green at 2 minutes, yellow 2.5, red at 3. I'll keep track of those things and give a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Dan. Next, we're going to move into our grammarian. This evening is Ms. Jean Symington Craig. Jean, can you share with us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. As a grammarian this evening, I have 2 roles. One is to select a word of the day, which I have put in the chat. But let's go ahead and take a look at that. And you can just ignore the first chat because it copied a bunch of synonyms and antonyms that I didn't intend to get in there. Not that they're not valid. So we're going to go to the next set of chats. And my word for the evening is gratuitous. And it's an adjective. And there are 2 meanings that are actually fairly different. I was surprised. So the first one, the definition is it's uncalled for or lacking good reason, unwarranted. An example would be gratuitous violence. The January 6th rioters engaged in gratuitous violence. Then the second definition, which is pretty different, is given or done free of charge. An example is solicitors provide a form of gratuitous legal advice. I don't know, solicitors in my mind usually always charge for their services, but it's the idea that maybe they're doing a pro bono, and that would be the gratuitous legal advice. So it can either be a good thing in a way or not such a good thing. I will be looking for usages of this word throughout the evening, and we'll take note of that. And just to change it up, I am going to give points for people who use words of the evenings that we've had in the past. So, because we want to continue to practice the vocabulary that we learn. And just to make sure that I know that you've done that, you remember one, when you use it, I want you to hold up a finger and then I'll remember, because we obviously have a lot of words we've done. So just help me out there. But we're going to put a lot in there. The second aspect of grammarian is that I'm looking for creative usages of language, vocabulary that I will take note of and write down, and also possible areas or usages that I think could use some improvement. And I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jean. Moving on to our next role player is Mr. Karthik Kanapan. And Karthik, is this your first time as the all counter?
No, this is my second time as all counter, but first time as joke master. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, do goodness. So why don't you share with us how it works?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters and guests. The purpose of our counter is to note the words and sounds that are used as crutches or pass filler by anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I will listen for overused words, including and, well, but, so, you know. I'll also listen to the filler words like and I'll also note down, when a speaker, including, when a speaker repeats a word or a phrase such as I or this means, the repeated words. And I will report at the end of the meeting with the number of times that they use a certain expression. And yeah, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Karthik. Now, we have a prepared speech this evening, and before we get to Alex for her first speech, Alex, I don't remember receiving anything for your intro. Did you send it to someone else just doing your intro?
I did. I believe I sent to Jean.
Okay. Well, Jean, can you read the intro for Alex then?
Needs to, hang on.
Oh,
You're back on mute.
Yeah.
You're off mute.
All right. So just remember, everybody, that the intro, you want it to go to the Toastmaster because that's the person who's really setting up the audience for you. So now I should go look in my email. Is that what we're saying, Alex?
I can send to Bob.
Yeah, that might be good.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you sent it very recently, I wouldn't have seen it. So
Yeah. I'll send to him. Yeah, I sent just a few minutes ago.
that was some gratuitous advice I gave to everybody on how you handle your introductions and who should get them.
okay. All right, here we go. Alex was born in Brazil, but has been living in the US for almost 20 years. She is in Toastmaster for almost 2 years and recently completed her level 1 in the presentation mastery pathway. This is the first speech of level 2, understanding your communication style. She is hoping to improve her presentation skills and feel more comfortable when delivering a speech and talking in public. Title, Discovering My Communication Style. Take it away, Alex.
Bob, one point of order here is that you need to ask the evaluator to describe what the objectives are.
Oh, and
Remember,
that
so-
would be, oh, yes. Dan is the evaluator? No, who's the
No,
evaluator?
Jean's the evaluator.
Gene's the evaluator, excuse me.
Okay, so more gratuitous advice. I'm giving everybody. Okay, so the sequence is when you're the Toastmaster is evaluator first, and then coming in with that nice, warm ramp-up introduction, and then the speaker. So that's the sequence. But we'll do it a little bit opposite, and that's fine. Alex is, as we've heard, is doing her first project in level 2, understanding your communication style in the presentation mastery path. And the purpose of this project is for the member to learn about different communication styles and identify his or her primary style. And then also the purpose of the speech is for the member to share the impact of his or her style on others. So I will be looking for a well-organized speech, some aspect of communication styles. It can be any type of theme, a humorous and informational, or any style the member chooses. So that's what I'll be looking for. And with that, we'll go ahead and let Alex, who's been sitting here patiently waiting for all of this material to be given. We'll go ahead and I'll just go ahead and welcome Alex, and yay, go Alex.
I recently heard a quote from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of Transcendental Meditation, that said, "The value of your voice is that it can give life to a lifeless man." It is a profound and beautiful quote. But what if we are not aware of our communication style? Fellow Toastmasters, my intention today is to introduce you to the different styles of communication and share my journey of understanding and discovering my personal approach, and hopefully inspire you in your journey. According to research, there are 4 types of communication styles: initiating, supportive, direct, and analytical. After taking the Toastmasters quiz, I discovered that my personal approach is initiating and supportive. To help illustrate, I will explain to you the characteristics of each style. The initiating communicator is sociable, enthusiastic, and persuasive. They can communicate easily and fluently with others. They are spontaneous and have a fun, loving nature. The supportive communicator is patient, cooperative, and sympathetic. They are great active listeners and can anticipate the needs of others. They are calm and steady. The direct communicators are result-oriented, focused, and competitive. They are highly motivated to get the work done. They're quick and decisive. The analytical communicator is cautious, precise, and disciplined. They are methodical, and they are great problem solvers. I must admit that I was a little surprised to score high on the initiating approach, because those characteristics was something that I always desired for myself, to be able to speak easily and fluently with others. After contemplating about it, I realized that, like anything else in life, our communication styles are highly influenced by our environment. Although I grew up in a loving family, my parents' education style was somehow authoritarian, which didn't give much space for my brothers and I to share our thoughts and ideas. For that reason, growing up anytime I would initiate a conversation about a topic that I was really interested about, I would sound a little too direct or even a little aggressive because I didn't have the space to develop that skill within myself. Naturally, I felt more comfortable with the supportive approach. I was a great listener, and I would anticipate the needs of the others around me. At home or at school with my friends, it was vital for me to cultivate a safe environment to share ideas without judgment. Although I was comfortable with the supportive approach, being in the supportive role can pass the idea of an indecisive individual. And that wasn't my goal. My goal was to be able to share my ideas comfortably and not only give support the space for others and agree with others around me. The beginning of my professional career was a little challenging because I wasn't too comfortable sharing my ideas, but I was also fearful that I would be misunderstood. At that moment, I realized that I would have to break free from this old mental conditioning, and also realized that my environment changed. It was no longer the authoritarian environment. It was supportive to the development of my communication skill. That's when I decided to take a course that was being offered by the company I used to work to develop presentations and prepare presentations and become more confident while doing public speaking. The classes were only a few days long, and it didn't give me enough time to practice and to overcome my fears and limitations. My shift happened a year ago when I decided to make the development of my communication skills my priority, and I joined the Toastmasters weekly meetings. Ever since, I'm gaining confidence, I'm learning to structure and organize my speeches, and I'm learning to become comfortable with my initiating and supportive communication approaches. In conclusion, although our environment has a high influence in the development of our communication skills, it is important that we try different ways to communicate so we can overcome our limitations and learn to enjoy the process. Thank you.
Very good, Alex. Wonderfully done. At this time, everyone, we are going to take a couple minutes here, Mr. Timer, and we're going to send Alex a chat and what we thought and leave it with her. Oh, let's go ahead and do that, everyone. We're going to move on to table topics. Is that correct?
We need to know if the speaker qualified.
Oh, that's right. Did the speaker qualify?
The speaker did qualify.
Okay. And then, Art, are you going to evaluate Alex now? Do you want to do that?
I am not her evaluator. Her evaluator might be ready.
Oh,
I can call upon Jean Symington Craig. Are you
okay.
ready, Jean, to give your
I'd
evaluation?
like a little more time.
You'd like to do that?
So
Okay.
I'd like to do it after we do our table topic.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to mix it up a little bit.
Natives are
So-
restless over here.
So Bob, let's run the table topics section of the meeting.
Okay.
So you're the table topics master
Okay.
and return to Jean's role when we're done.
Okay. Well, I was on a roll tonight, everyone. I got 1 through 10.
I'll go.
You go? Okay, Art. 1 through 10.
1.
Number 1. Okay. Do you believe in predestination, or do you believe in yourself for any changes we made for any new revelation that you don't know? Please explain.
Read that one more time for me, please.
Okay. Do you believe in predestination, or do you believe in yourself for any changes that need to be made for any new revelation? Please explain.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. In 2 minutes to address the topic of free will, that's an enormous challenge. I do not believe in predestination if by predestination we mean that all of my choices have been made for me without my knowledge, and that I am destined to act these out whether I like it or not. That is one interpretation of predestination that I have heard, and it feels like living in a straitjacket to believe that, so I choose not to. However, I have listened to wise men and read their words about the subject of free will, and there is a very strong line of argument that what appears to be free will is not really completely up to us. In the Bhagavad Gita, speaking of the various forces of nature, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, the 3 gunas are in charge of all of the action in life. The 3 gunas being 3 principles of action in nature: creation, destruction, and maintenance. Our thought that we are in charge is an illusion, according to Lord Krishna. So I am maintaining a wait and see opinion on the subject of my free will, and I'm exercising it to the extent that I possibly can, hoping that it works out for the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. I'll try not to be so deep, okay? Who's up next? 2 through 10. Jean?
Yeah. And Lillian knows she can play too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, 2 through 10.
Yes, 2 through 10.
All right, how about 4?
Number 4.
Unless it's a bad one, Bob, and then I want you to give me a different one.
Okay.
There's
All
a
right.
question in my mind. I'm the general evaluator, but I don't see that there's an evaluator for the table topics yet. Is there one named in the agenda?
Dan, is it? Dan, is it?
Dan's it?
Okay.
Okay. All right, Jean. If you only knew the troubles this is you talking. If you only knew the troubles I have seen in life, I would share with you the music that soothes me. Please explain.
Hmm. Brahms Violin Concerto in D major. It soothes and energizes your soul. My soul in particular, fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Toastmaster, honored guest. That concerto has been a compact version of who I am, where I'm going, what I've seen in an uncanny way. In different times in my life, I have turned to that Brahms Violin Concerto in D major and just played it and let my emotions swing with all that's going on in that concerto. It's acknowledgement of who I am and what I'm meant to be doing, and acceptance and inspiration. It's like a treatment for me. Brahms Violin Concerto in D major. When I want to defy something that's bad that's happening, I can turn that on and it just reorients me to whatever the situation is that I'm facing. So yes, I have had troubles. We all do. And you don't get to be my age, which, is up there. We don't get to be my age without having experienced some troubles. The key is what readily available antidotes do you have to address those and lift your spirits? Because sometimes the best thing to do is not to meet the problem head on, but just to strengthen almost your emotional immune system so that you are better able to handle whatever it is that's going on. I think we all have that. I think music in particular is very important for that. I do really appreciate this question because I may have to hear, because I'm being able to talk about it, I may need to go listen to it again. It's been a little while. Oystra. David Oystra, I believe, is David Oystra is the last name. It's the version to listen to. It's sublime. That's it. Troubles come, have your music, keep going.
Thank you, Jean. Throwing in some 25 and 50-cent words in there too. That was great. I liked it. Who else would like to go in there? We have William.
I will
Lily,
go.
would you like to try it?
I don't know how I can follow Jean, but I'll give it a shot.
Okay. All right. You'll do fine. We have 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 10.
What happened to 8?
Oh, 8. 8. Excuse me. Yep. I'm on
Is it
2
bad?
pieces of paper as my scribbling. Okay. Yes, 8 too. You want 8?
Yes, that was the number I had in mind. And when you didn't read it, I'm like, who took it?
No, I didn't. I was just skipped over it. Sorry. Here's a question. If you only knew as a teenager what you know now, what would you change?
That was so long ago. As far as Getting married and having my first child at 21, none of that would have changed. I met my husband when I was 17. I probably would have went on to college because I had no interest in college back then. I went back to and got an online degree many years ago, but not what I should have. My son just recently turned 50. Back then, the women were just getting into careers. And I was a stay-at-home mom and then just an office worker for a while. And when my children got old enough, I was a manager for McDonald's for 26 years. I did not have a college degree, but I went through all the McDonald's training that they gave. They paid me very well, and it was an excellent company. The owner-operator was a terrific man. Even though that experience was a fruitful one, I would have changed my course back in high school and planned on going to college. Reason why I didn't is I had no clue of what I wanted to do when I grew up. So it was kind of like, why plan if I don't know? And neither one of my parents had attended college. I had one aunt who's only 6 years older than me, who was the first one on my mother's side of the family that was in college. And she was studying to be a teacher, and that wasn't a road I wanted to take. So long story short, I will wind it up with, I would have attended college and done better in high school. Thank you.
Very good, William. Good job. You fit right in with the rest of us here. All right. We have some more questions. Who else would like to step up?
Bob, I would like to know if you have simple questions like the one that you had for Lillian, because the
All
first two were like
I'll give you the simple
I
question,
didn't
okay?
understand
All right.
the question was.
We won't send you no college course brain twister. All right. This is number, we'll send it to you. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. This is you speaking. You're saying, if you knew what hobby was that I have, and you could take 2 minutes to explain it, what would you tell us?
Can you repeat the second part? I didn't get it.
So basically, your hobby, whatever your hobbies are,
Mhm.
if you could take 2 minutes to explain to us why we should join you in your hobby.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So the hobby that I have is watching YouTube, which I have mentioned many times before. So the reason that I would recommend you all to watch YouTube is YouTube has an algorithm that provides you random videos which may consume a lot of time, but the reason is you get to, so it is the second most popular search engine after Google, which provides video content which makes you understand things a little bit better rather than reading something on a Google page, which may not be as authentic as you could see on a video. And if you start watching a particular type of video, then YouTube recommends a similar videos that provides that is related to the content that you're watching, which will provide you more clearer vision of the topic of your interest. So by it has multiple different aspects of videos it can be about lifestyle, education, cooking, cinema. And you have all the different options that you have, which makes it more interesting to binge watch for a long period of time. So I would recommend using YouTube as your, or joining in, watching YouTube rather than Googling something. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Good, Karthik.
We are on schedule, or somewhat behind schedule, given that we have got to allow time for the evaluation of the prepared speech.
Okay.
I can tell you who qualified. We want to vote. All our speakers qualified. So we should send a vote for best table topics speaker, send that to Bob as the Toastmaster, put a TT in front of it, and vote for Art, Jean, Lillian, or Karthik.
Then, Jean, are you gonna give the evaluation now?
Should we do that or should we do table topics? Dan, which do you think? Nope.
Either way, what do you want?
Well, it's nice to have the evaluation after the presentations. It's just, it's harder for the speech evaluator versus the table topics, but I'm open to whichever. So I would lean more towards you going now because it's fresh in our memory,
Okay,
but that would just be a thought.
I'll go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Could somebody time me? I'll try to time myself. I have 4 speakers, so I'm going to do
Alex got it.
2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, yay, Dan. Yay, Dan.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. My first speaker to evaluate was Art. He was asked if he believed in predestination or in his own action to accomplish things. He took some time to think. He gave a very well thought out answer. Some interesting angles on the question. My suggestion for Art was in regard to the way that you did it. When you started talking about the Bhagavad Gita and the 3 gunas, it let us see that when you had said earlier that it's too much to cover in 2 minutes. Yeah, we knew that was the case. So somehow it would have been better to not quite get so complicated. Jean was the next speaker. If people only knew her troubles, what music would she suggest that they listen to? What I really liked about Jean's response was that she said Brahms Violin Concerto in D as the first words out of her mouth. There was no doubt in what her opinion was. She came through very forcefully. And then she gave us a nice round of reactions to that music, the way it makes her feel, the way she's relied on it. She had good gestures, lots of enthusiasm. It made us all want to go listen to it right away. I'm afraid I don't have a suggestion at this time, but I'll speak to you later, Jean, after I think it through. Lillian was the next speaker. She had the question, if you knew as a teenager what you know now, what would you have done differently? It was an interesting response. She told us a little bit about her early life and how it was that she got married early and wasn't able to pursue her education at that time. It had to wait for later. Then she talked about the profession that she had worked in her life. I thought that was a good, solid answer to the question. My suggestion for you, Lillian, is in regard to eye contact. It shows up a bit more in Zoom. I think what was happening was that as you were thinking of your answer, you were tending to look up and to the side. If you can manage to look at the camera, then you are connecting more with your audience. And the last speaker was Karthik. He was asked to explain his hobby in 2 minutes. We weren't surprised that Karthik said it was watching YouTube videos. We've heard that before. He gave a technical answer that was really fascinating about what a widely used search engine YouTube is. I think my suggestion is throw in there a bit about how those YouTubes make you feel.
Very good, Dan. Should we move to you, Jean, or Art? Are you taking over?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll call on Jean to please give us the evaluation for Alex's prepared speech.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. Yay, Alex, letting us know about her communication style and giving us some background. Some things that I really liked that Alex did, right at the beginning, she gave a good opening overview of what she was going to be telling us. She gave the structure, and I knew where we were going, which is very helpful for an audience member. She had a talk that was well paced, easy to follow, articulated well. She also had excellent eye contact from what I could see. I felt like she was looking at me, so that's a good thing. Some suggestions would be to add some gestures. So gestures can be structural, so you can say on the one hand, here we go, say on the one hand, blah, 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 blah. And then, but on the other hand, da, 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 you can say, you can use fingers as, point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. I also thought you could use some body language to show, particularly the authoritarian childhood, how it made you feel. You felt just kind of all shrunken in and don't want to make any waves and just trying to stay down. And you could embody all of that. And then you could alternate that, compare it to how you feel now, and you just feel so much bigger and, all of that. So gestures would be really nice, would be effective. I'm trying to not use nice, beautiful, and great. That's my current challenge here. I'd also suggest that this would be me. I'm going to talk about her third person, that Alex could, in her conclusion, she did have a conclusion, which is good, but reference some of those personal experiences that gave the concrete support for her conclusion, just touching on it. In my I had an authoritarian childhood environment, but the work course started to open my eyes. And now Toastmasters is putting the fine polish on my developing communication skills, something that reminds us where we've been in the talk. Also, would like possibly for a summary of what your conclusion was, which is that environment is a key component for communication skills, but the will to grow can overcome communication limitations. And you could actually even consider putting that at the beginning also, just to say, this is what I am proposing is the case. And then here's your evidence. that was just my thoughts on how to structure that again. But really well done. Love hearing from Alex. And looking forward to more.
So we're going to do the reports now?
Yes, it would be up to me to call for the reports.
Okay.
My apologies. Yes, Jean.
Might want to have the timers, or just who qualified as evaluators.
Yes, we have two evaluators, Jean and Dan. And
Both
if the timer
evaluators
tells-
both evaluators qualified.
both qualified. So you could send a private message to Toastmaster Bob with your vote for the best evaluator. Okay, so now if we could have the full timers report, Craig, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. Alex's speech was 6 minutes and 42 seconds. Art in table topics, 2 minutes 30. Jean, 2:25. Lillian, 2:18. Karthik, 1 minute 55. In the evaluations, Jean was 3:26 and Dan was 3:30. That's my report.
Thank you. Jean, if you would give us a grammarian's report.
Yes, I was a little bit sparse on this, but it is a gratuitous report, so you get what you pay for, I guess. Alex, let's see, I'm going to start with Karthik. Karthik had authentic. Karthik had authentic. Down. Dan had forcefully. Down. No, I'm trying to keep the up talk. Down. Alex, I had a couple of suggestions for improvement, but they apply for other people as well. The phrase was contemplating about, and it would actually just be contemplating. I was contemplating this. You don't have to contemplate about, just subtle point. And then brothers and I, and the I should have been me, because it was the objective case rather than the subjective. Those I's, people want to use I because they think it sounds more correct, and it's just, or more refined or higher reading or something. And so anyway, that would be the suggestion there. So that's my grammarian report, except that gratuitous was used many times by me and nobody else.
I don't comment. I put it in a chat.
You put it in a chat to me?
Yeah. Not to
I
you.
Not to you?
He did.
Well, is a word usage that I don't see? Did it ever happen? I don't know. Is it a,
Yeah,
if
I
a
can
tree falls?
confirm.
You can confirm?
I can confirm.
Okay.
If a
Okay.
tree falls in the wood.
Yeah, if a tree falls in the wood and no one hears it, did it happen? All right. So we want to make sure we're using these words. And I didn't see any fingers waggling about using, say, our word last week, which was salient, which could have been a nice piece to add in there. So, but that's my report. Mr. General Evaluator, back to you.
Thank you. Karthik, as the counter, please give us your report.
Thank you. Thank you, Art. So I noted that Jean used one, two, I think, one, and then 3 false starts. I was not able to find any filler words with Alex, Art, or Bob. Dan used 1 false start, and then Lillian used 2 ums. That's my report.
Thank you, Karthik.
I think I went ahead and took the liberty of
Yeah,
doing
for
the
me.
account for yourself.
Yeah.
Let's just say you had more than 10 ahs. You had 4 doubles and a couple of so's. And that's my report.
Kartik, the amusing thing was, as you were describing what the counter would do, your speaking was full of and and it happened so spontaneously that you're not aware of it, apparently, because you were saying as you were describing that as a counter you would count ahs.
Okay.
You didn't hear yourself doing it.
Okay. Noted out.
But you are
Now it
improving.
is
I must
our
say,
turn to hear you give us a joke.
Yes. This is one of the toughest role, at least according to me. So, okay, I have one joke, which either I'm sure you would laugh either at my joke or at me. So, I heard of this story in YouTube again. So there was this Indian guy who was flying with Albert Einstein, who was sitting next to him. So Albert Einstein started the conversation with this Indian guy, saying, it's a long flight. Why don't we start a competition? So he said, I'll ask a question. Like Albert Einstein said, I'll ask a question. If in case you're not able to answer, you can give me, you should give me $5. If in case I'm not able to answer your question, I'll give you $500. Then this Indian guy thought, oh, it's a great idea. So he said, okay, I agreed to this deal. He asked Albert Einstein to, ask his first question. So Einstein asked him, how far is the moon from the earth? In the Indian guy thought for a while and he said, I really don't know the answer. So he put his hand in his pocket and then he gave him $5. And then it's turn for the Indian guy. So he asked Einstein, what goes up the hill with 3 legs and comes down with 4? He thought for a while. He worked with all of his knowledge. He wasn't able to figure it out through his science knowledge. So he put his hands in his pocket and gave the Indian guy $500. And then next is Einstein's turn. So he asked the Indian guy this time. So I knew the answer for the previous question. And what's the one thing that goes up with 3 legs and comes up with 4? This time the Indian guy, puts his hands in his pocket and then gave him $5. That's my joke for the day.
It's a scam. Yeah.
Yes.
good job, Kartik.
Clever.
Hey, now as general evaluator, I will give a brief evaluation of the 2 evaluators. Dan, as a table topics evaluator, went first. It was clear that he listened carefully. He had suggestions for all but Jean. He suggested that I trim my topic a little more effectively rather than diving into Bhagavad Gita. A good, reasonable suggestion. It was one that I could have implemented. Didn't require adding anything to a speech which was already 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. Jean, as evaluator of Alex's speech, was full of praise for what was done very well. Particularly, it was both delivery things that she praised and structural things that she praised. She had a very interesting suggestion that because the concluding element of her talk was that she escaped the restrictions of her authoritarian upbringing, the suggestion was that that be an opening statement as well as a concluding statement to make the speech a tighter unit. That demonstrated Jean's outstanding ability to think about possibilities while listening to what's actually being delivered, to think on two levels at the same time. She also made delivery suggestions, one of them being body language and gestures could be amplified. Now I'll turn it back over to Toastmaster Bob Fogel.
Mark, great evaluation.
I should explain that I'm going through a period of having very little ability to handwrite notes. It's just a Parkinson's thing that's very strong right now. So my note taking is not even valuable to me sometimes because I can't read it.
Thank you for trying, Art.
Yes. Appreciate you here. Well, everyone, that's that moment we've all been waiting for. That's the awards. Gene, you got your little.
I got him.
All right. Now, what we like to do, Lillian, we do a little drum roll around here. Okay, this is what we do.
Drum roll.
Who's gonna win the table topics? And it goes to Gene. Yay, go Gene.
Yay!
Yay.
Yay!
Good job, Gene.
Okay.
Next we have on our plate, oh, that's a big drum roll, the evaluator. And it goes to the Craig family. Dan, they won it. Yay!
Dan! In the family. Yay!
Yay. All right. Well, thank you for a wonderful, successful meeting again tonight.
There's a best speaker waiting.
There's somebody else, Bob.
Oh. How could I forget? And our best speaker for the night is Alex. Yay! Yay! Sorry about that, Alex. I was in a zone here. Good job.
The best for last.
Yes, for sure. All right. As I was saying, thanks for a great meeting. Thanks for attending, Lillian. Before we close the meeting, is there anything that caught your interest about us or that you'd like to add or share?
Every meeting that I've been to locally are different. And this one was different also. I had the agenda and I'm trying to follow along because it is different. I like the evaluations of the table topics, especially if there's only one speaker. I think that it makes use of the time rather than ask everybody on the screen for a table topics answer. It makes better use of the time having the other people evaluate. And it's good practice. And I learned a lot. I have to look up quite a few things. I learned from Arthur and Jean. I could use that music right now because September's not a good month for me. Before the month is over, I'll be playing it. And it was a good meeting. And I look up when I'm thinking rather than saying, so yes, that's one of my habits, and you got me right away. Thank you for having me, and I would like to come back.
Oh, we love to have you come back.
Yeah.
And
Very
bring them to-
innovative. Very innovative of you to do this Zoom traveling around. It's so easy to do.
Yes.
Mhm.
Anyone else got something for Lillian? Otherwise, we're going to close in the meeting. And it's official. We are closing the meeting. It's over.
Thank you, everybody. And
All right.
I will see you either next week or the one after that, but probably next.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank
we-
you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's always the same link.
Okay,
Good job, Alex.
I won't lose it.
Yeah.